This episode is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the #1 tool for all podcasters. You can record high-fidelity audio between remote locations and get studio-quality sound. Go to Zencastr.com and use coupon code THATENTERTAINS for 20% off for 3 months or 20% off an annual plan.
This is a That's Entertainment podcast.
Awesome.
Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome.
That was awesome.
You guys are awesome.
No, you're awesome.
No, you are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kevin. This is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. That was real radio hacky, isn't it? Wow. And the best part about this episode that I'm recording an intro for is I may have recorded an intro on the fly with this week's guest. So I forget. But at long last, my friends, at long last, here is our Best of 2018 episode. And it's the first time we've done like a best of / year in review episode of this podcast. And I really enjoyed it, and I want to tweak it, and I want to make it in like an annual thing now, because I really enjoyed sitting down. We sat down with my best friend in the world, Mike DeAngelo, creator of Tellest and contemplate, and we just talked about 2018, and not necessarily like the best of 2018 in a pop culture sense. Yes, we did talk a lot about movies and whatnot, and TV. Like, we did focus a lot on pop culture, but we also like talked about some personal like wins and whatnot for 2018, and we talked about what we would like to see in 2019. And it was just like a nice like little like relaxing kind of conversation with my best buddy in the world. And we talk all the time, but rarely do we sit down and talk for the podcast. And not like it like, yes, this was a little bit structured and it was not maybe a natural conversation, but I really like our conversations that we have, that we sit down and have for the podcast. Like, it's a throwback to what we used to do with like traditional radio-based podcasting, where it's just, a couple of guys sitting around chatting, and I use the royal sense of guys, like guys, gals, whoever, gender notwithstanding, just a couple of people sitting down and chatting, and while that's what this show is every single week, it's not the same two people every single time. One person's consistently the same. So I really like these episodes when I sit down and record with Mike. And there's some other people that are kind of like in that tier now. Garrett is one of them. Ben from the Pot of Love podcast, I feel, is slowly becoming one of them. And honestly, I think he's only been on the show once, maybe, but like we've talked a few times like for other related podcasts and whatnot. He's been on the show twice, because episode 150. Once proper, once for a game. So like, but Ben and I talk a lot, and I foresee that being like a natural thing that happens. Is I have these people that are going to be like frequent guests, and I just really enjoy talking to, like, in and out of podcasting, and you can see that and hear that, I think, in our conversations that we have here. So really excited for you guys to listen to this. Just casual conversation between two best friends, talking about the best of 2018, trying to keep things positive. It feels like every year, at the end of a year, we sit down and say, man, this was a shitty year. Like, what a shitty year. And it seems like, there's a constant to that. Like, it's been pretty much since 2016 we've been saying that. And for me, yeah, 2016 sucked on a human American level, but it also sucked on a very Kev level, because that was the year my uncle was diagnosed and lost his battle to cancer. 2017 I guess was slightly better, but it was still kind of like a human dumpster fire, in America here. Just a big old dumpster fire with things that were happening politically and what that meant to, like, we kind of like really in 2017 saw, like, even more so than 2016, like what some people really are, like, because of what the current administration kind of has made seem acceptable, and unfortunately that kind of continued into 2018, and it I don't know if it got worse than 2017 again, but 2018 was another year for me that, like, on a personal level, on a Kev level, it just was like a dumpster fire every year, because it was the very near the anniversary of my uncle's passing was when my father was diagnosed with cancer. But I want to sit down with a couple people and have like a festival retrospective still, to talk about like after the festival. Like, let's chat about that and like everyone's experiences with it. And but we kicked 2019. We kicked 2019 off right. I feel like 2019 feels good so far. At the time of this recording, it's actually, spoiler, been a couple months into 2019, and yeah, politically it still kind of sucks. But I feel like I feel like the resistance is making progress. I feel like there's small steps, and sometimes those steps results in having to take huge leaps backwards just to get those small steps forward. But I don't know, there's just something that feels a little bit different about 2019 so far. And maybe it's because on a very Kev level, so far it's been a great year. Knock on wood, but it's been a pretty great year for Kev in 2019. We held the festivals already, at the time of this, for, the actual conversation between Mike and I, we didn't. But now, Kev doing this intro, we had an amazing festival that came together between 4 venues and like 24 or so podcasts and 20 to 25 comedians, and there were some issues at some of the venues, but for at least the Tattooed Mom venue, things went super smooth. And at Tattooed Mom, day of, cash in hand, we raised more money than we've raised the previous 2 years combined. And all together, with everything we raised ahead of time, we raised almost $800, $781 we raised for the Headstrong Foundation, which covers a week's stay for a family that needs to stay at Nick's house. And that felt really good. And my fiance's, her birthday, I mean, I guess as adults, birthdays are birthdays, but it's just another year alive, another year of being healthy and alive, hitting 35, and the kid turned 7, and just seeing my son like progress and become like a 7-year-old kid that's like can read and like almost has like a little bit of independence to some degree. My daughter, who's 4, going to be 5 soon, like also kind of, because she has her big brother to like see what he does, like kind of gaining a little bit of independence, but still being a monster, for lack of a better term. That's great. And like the festival and progress with getting married, like booking a place and making progress there, like that all is like so 2019 has been a great year, and part of that is like I have truly tried to eliminate some things from my life that are toxic, and I feel like it's going great. So this was a long-winded way of saying, here's a conversation between Mike DeAngelo and I about 2018, what we liked, what we loved. I think, if I remember correctly, we focused on the positive, because it is easy to focus on the negative at the end of a year. So I'm pretty sure we focused on positive. If we talked negative, it wasn't a lot. We didn't feature it long. We just kind of mentioned things here and there. But it was great conversation. across the board between mics. So make sure you check that out in a couple seconds here. And of course, if you want to support this show, support me, there's a bunch of ways to do that. The easiest of which is to leave a 5-star rating and review on iTunes for Everything is Awesome or any other podcast that I'm on, whether it's as a host or a guest or a player or something. Please, anything you hear me on, please, make sure you go back and leave a 5-star review and just, pump up those podcasters and whatnot, because those 5 stars ratings and reviews mean the world to a podcaster, and it actually helps. It makes a difference. Every single review, every single rating makes a huge difference for a podcaster. It literally could mean the life or death of a podcast for some people, not for everybody, but there's some people who need that to keep going. There's some people who need that to make this a sustainable business, So if you listen to a podcast, even if it's not Everything is Awesome, please leave 5-star rating reviews. If you listen to a bunch of podcasts, one a week. Pick a show. All right, this week I'm going to leave a rating for Everything is Awesome. Next week I'm going to do Party of One. You know what? This week I'm going to do Pot of Love. So please. That means, like I said, it means the world to people. Word of mouth recommendations, I guess it's technically easier to let people know that you're listening to Everything is Awesome on awesomepodcast.com, or just force it down their throats when you're in the car with them. But the other way that you can help support this show and really support me as a content creator, so that I can do more things beyond just sitting around and talking to people, is by going to patreon.com/thatnerdykev. For as little as $2 a month, you can subscribe to our Patreon and get first look access. You can just get a bunch of stuff. You can be the awesome yearbook that we're going to be doing, or I forget, maybe it's a zine I called it. I forget how I exactly labeled it, but every December we're going to be putting together like a little year of kind of review PDF file that features like a yearbook section and whatnot. It's a little fun thing that we're going to be putting together. Anyway, so yeah, patreon.com/thatnerdykev. That the funds we raise through those subscriptions goes to covering hosting fees and getting people paid and just allowing this thing that I do to grow. Go to more cons. Do more creative things in the video and audio landscape and whatnot. So it would mean the world to me. Make sure you check out our podcast network as well, thatentertains.com/network. We have a bunch of great shows there as well. So thank you so much for listening. And here is my conversation with Mr. Mike DeAngelo right here on the That's Entertainment Podcast Network at thatentertains.com/network, and of course on awesomepodcast.com. I'm not going to intro the show. I guess I could intro the show because
it's a very special show.
Why cut a post intro in? I don't know. Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. And at the time of this recording, I'm actually still approximately 10 episodes behind in posting Everything is Awesome. But we're recording this during what I'm dubbing the week of awesome. And you're going to be getting anywhere between 1 and 2 episodes of Everything is Awesome a day. Though I'm only really going to advertise like the major ones. Other ones like the Halloween special, Remembering Stanley, the Thanksgiving special, things that aren't actually featuring guests, I'm not going to really advertise because the guest is more important. Speaking of this week, I decided I wanted to sit down because I'm just like jazzed about movies really this year, but I wanted to sit down and talk about like the best of 2018. And I had decided to do that with my frequent co-host at live shows, the one, the only, Michael DeAngelo.
With that. But is that still cool? I don't know if that's still cool.
That's
Probably
a 90s. It's a 90s thing. That's a commercial on 90s on 9 for Sirius XM.
We're on the 80s right now, so I feel like you give it 10 years and WhatsApp will be cool again.
Yeah, totally. So this is I don't know when this is airing. It's the date is going to be probably January 2nd on your podcast feed, but I think it's going live around the 9th. But it's as of the recording, it is New Year's Eve, and we are sitting in a conference room. I don't know if you want me to say where we're actually at, but we're in a conference room it's a cold ass building. I'll say that.
Yeah, they always keep the heat down in my place of employment.
But yeah, it's God, this right here makes me wish we had like all the money in the world so that we could have our own office.
I mean, we play our cards right. We got those two guys who are opening Funzilla right around the corner from us. They made a dream come true, Kev. We could do it too.
That's true. Well, now is Funzilla a place that's around? Like that's not.
I think it's one of a kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think that they've done this before, or if it is, it's not anywhere local.
Yeah, I thought there was I thought maybe it's just another place like it in Jersey. I thought there was a place called Funzilla in Jersey.
It's possible. I only did a little bit of research based on what I want to see at this current one that we're going to have probably early next year.
Yeah, I drive by somewhat frequently, and I've seen the progress and whatnot. But anyway. So yeah, I wanted to do like a best of 2018, because it's crazy if you sit down and think about this year. Like I feel like every year we kind of sit down as a general the royal and say that like, man, this past year's been
a quick one,
pretty fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Ever since
I thought you were just
2016.
talking about how quick it goes,
No.
but yeah, it keeps on getting worse too. And every time you feel like the bar gets lowered and lowered and lowered, and it's like we're actually digging a trench to make the bar even further.
And how can this year be worse than? And like for me, like it's always been like usually something personal. I guess really only 2016 had some personal stuff. 2017 I don't think was terrible on a personal level. I can't really think of anything personal. 2016 was just when my uncle passed away, but like also for everyone else, it was when he who shall not be named was elected.
Trump.
and you just don't
that
know.
actually makes him sound cool. That's like
you can't.
I almost imagine him as like a Voltron type robot.
So it's just weird. It's unbelievable how every year we can say it just gets worse because of said cool nickname guy, even though he's a terrible human being. But we're not going to get into politics. I wanted to do best of 2018, and really neither of have notes in front of us because we're just going to wing best of 2018. But I wanted to highlight things in 2018 because I feel like it's so easy to just look back and say, well, this is shitty. And there's been some shitty things that's happened to me in 2018 as well. But I wanted to focus on like the positive because I don't think there's enough of that. And for me, one of the biggest positives was just film because it was actually, I don't know, you never got Movie Pass or A-List, right?
No.
For me, I did. I had both and have A-List currently. So for me, film is a pretty big highlight of 2018. And like I listen to mainly, I think the only movie podcast I listen to is Garrett's and Dan's. I like to movie. And so that's where I get all my movie information from. But like for the first time, and I haven't listened to their top 10 yet because that's a 4-hour event, 4.5 hour podcast that they recorded. B, I want to like officially get my list hammered down before like I'm influenced by their lists. But for the first time, like normally, how many movies a year do you think you see?
I probably
In theater.
Probably around 20.
20. So for me, and that was probably pre-children is what I saw. It's probably more like 5 up until 2018 where Movie Pass and A-List came into the picture. And I saw more than this, but actual films released in the theater that I saw, I guess this includes Netflix films too. So they're not just theater films, but 2018 films that I saw in theater on Netflix was 39.
Wow.
39 plus whatever else I watched on DVD or Netflix that wasn't released this year.
It's a pretty high number.
And I would say, let's add maybe 10 to, we'll say 50. I saw 50 movies this year because I try to keep track on Letterboxd now, even if it's something that I've seen before. So, and out of those 50, obviously at least 39 of them I've never seen before because they were new to this year. And I've only had a couple repeat viewings of things like Get Out. I saw again, which Get Out was a 2017. So, but this is my point. Like, think back, Black Panther was a film released in 2018.
Yeah, it was way back in February?
February. So like, and they, I think Garrett and Dan said this on their episode before their big best of episode. 2018 is a pretty big year for movies.
As far as like being culturally important.
But I think it's also going to be a big year. It's going to be one of those years where in 10 to 15 years, people are going to look back and say, man, 2018 was a good year for films. Because, I only say that because there's just, looking at the list of movies that I saw this year, like, it's just insane. Like, and this isn't a good, we were just discussing this movie. It's not necessarily a good movie, but the Black Mirror, what's it, Bandersnatch?
Bandersnatch, yeah.
That movie, while not necessarily a good movie, it is such a unique experience to watch that movie and interact with that movie that's it makes 2018 like a good year for film, I think, because it's just something unique with the medium that we haven't seen to that quality before, I guess.
And when you think about it too, like we've had the potential to do stuff like that for a long time. It was just somebody decided to go, like, we've got this technology. Why don't we just kind of turn it around and just kind of tweak things and experiment a little bit? Yeah,
and like I said, and we won't get into it fully on this right now, but as we were saying before we started recording, there's a couple things that they could have done here and there, I think, to make that experience even better. I just don't know. I think telling an interactive movie, A, is it still a movie at that point? B, when you're telling it at that, it's really kind of like a really expensive Telltale game almost.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you don't have as many options, I don't think, because you can't go back and forth and try and find, whatever you're looking for. And they kind of set that precedent within the story itself. Like, it gives you one or two choices.
Yeah.
I think that with the technology going the way it is, I wouldn't be surprised if we have something that gets to a point where it's like, you can go and hit a button, and then it'll bring up like a menu, like look, pick up, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know that I even wanted that. At that point, again, it's not really a film. I think that limiting the options allows it to be more film-esque. My biggest complaint, and this is we can end on these couple notes here. My biggest complaint about that movie / interactive experience is that it was. When you had to make a decision, it wasn't tight. I know they have to make it wait like the 10 seconds or whatever, so you give someone enough time to actually decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's what's happening during that 10 seconds that feels like nothing's happening.
Yeah, I mean, and the actors did like their best to kind of like stretch it out and make it feel like a normal feeling. Because I mean, in certain circumstances, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, right away. Like you're like, I have to ruminate. Like there's an actual thought going through to this. Am I going to do X or am I going to do Y? But a lot of the times, what we're doing doesn't require that much forethought.
Right.
It's I'm going to, just kind of on the seat of my pants decide I'm going to eat the cereal.
Yeah. And I think they did a good job with like having there be a conversation with his father. I think, again, not enough. There wasn't enough there. Both times that you had to choose music, or at least for me, I don't know. I had to choose music 2 times, right?
Yeah, one was what he was going to listen to then, and then one was
what he was going to buy.
List based on
Yep. I feel like that to help that make it not seem as unnatural as it was, easily just looking at the back of the things, reading the song list, like that could have been a 10-second filler that would have made it at least feel a little bit more natural for a movie, I think. But yeah, that's my biggest complaint was that, and I don't know that there's necessarily a good way, or if there is, I'm not the one to think of it right now, at least. But just one of the many things that made film interesting this year. But I don't want to concentrate on film too much.
We could do like some like high-end information. Like, do you know that this was the year that 50 Shades, they ran its course? There's no more 50 Shades after this.
Movies?
Yeah, the 50 Shades series, that's done.
I didn't even pay attention to this.
The seats are going to be drier in the theaters.
Did you here's one of, because I've seen so many movies this year, like one of the highlights for me as for 2018, and it's been around longer than 2018, but is the concept of, like, I'll limit it to just reserving seats. Like for me, AMC theaters, at least in the beginning of the year, the one that is near us in Chamonix, not every theater was reserved seats.
Yeah.
Now
they are. I
think they all are reserved seats. And furthermore, at least, the one thing I miss about Oxford Valley, Regal, United Artists, whatever they're called now, is that every theater there has comfy seats.
Yes.
AMC, it's only those 4 big theaters that have, I think it's just the 4.
No, I think all of them have the reclining seats now, don't they?
No. I've gone to...
So you still have to reserve even if it's not a reclining seat?
Yes.
That's interesting.
So, like, I went to go see Aquaman at a regular digital screening at 11 p.m., and it was a huge-ass theater. I think it was Theater 2. But there's all just the normal seats.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
And I think it was maybe it was a different theater number, but whatever. It was one of the big ass theaters that wasn't IMAX, it wasn't Dolby, and it wasn't 3D. And it was
the reclining seats. They definitely take up more space, so you can't fit as many people. Yeah. So I wonder if that's why they've kept it like
if
that.
I'm AMC,
want to jam
yes.
people in there.
Because AMC is able to keep ticket prices low because of that. Yeah. Whereas AMC, there's a flat rate.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a kid rate and a senior citizen rate, but other than that, there's no matinee rate. There's you pay one price no matter what time you go see a movie.
Yeah.
AMC, you can still go see cheap tickets on Tuesday. I mean, it doesn't matter for me because I have a list. And that's another best of for me. Like, and Movie Pass is something that started in 2017. Well, I don't know when it stared, but the idea of having such a cheap pricing structure.
Do you think that that's going to continue, or do you think that what A-List is doing and AMC, what they're doing is trying to price Movie Pass out of the market to the point where they will stop doing what they're doing, and then they'll kind of change what they're doing as well? So
I think that I hope they don't change much, AMC. I think an AMC A-List started in 2018. So for even though Movie Pass is what I use for a majority of 2018, another highlight of 2018 for me is the A-List. I think it's well worth the extra. I think it's going to end up being an extra $12 in Pennsylvania. I think right now I'm paying $20 I forget when. I think when my year is up, which will be in August, I believe, or maybe October, somewhere around there, is when it will go up to, I think, $23 a month, something like that. So
you have to see 2 movies a month, and it makes up for itself.
And then really you could see one IMAX 3D movie and one regular movie, and then and that's the downfall of Movie Pass. I don't even know what they're down. Well, there's so many factors.
They thought that it was going to be a slower go, I think, and then they could have ramped up like Netflix, did, because Netflix started and it was like $6.99 or something like that, and now it's like $12.99 or whatever it is. Yeah. But Movie Pass started off and it was too cheap to sustain itself, and then more people just kind of like, it was like being on a life raft that could fit 5 people, and all of a sudden 50 people were in there.
And they were hoping to force AMC, because AMC is probably, I know Regal's big, but AMC is the biggest movie chain out there, right? At least in the United States. And I think they were hoping to force AMC into some sort of deal where they would get kickbacks from every ticket sold or something like that.
Yeah.
Or from concessions.
But at the same time, if you're a company as big as AMC, why not just do your own thing? Now, Helios and Matheson, the company that owns Movie Pass, they were doing phenomenal. So it looked like they could do anything they wanted. But historically, they're not doing movie-based ventures or anything. They're a security firm. Yeah. So it was like they were trying to diversify, and they just kind of went into territory that they didn't understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah. And the best thing that MoviePass did was enlighten everybody, including AMC, on what people want in a movie-going experience, and that is a subscription-based plan. Because AMC, they limit you. You can only see 3 movies a week, and
which is plenty, to be perfectly honest.
Which is plenty. You don't need to see 5 movies or 7 movies a week. You don't need to. And I'm part of the problem because I did see a lot. I saw an average of 6 movies a month with Movie Pass. With AMC,
well, now you can still do 12, couldn't you?
Yeah. And with AMC, I probably average in the holiday season since October. I've averaged far less, but I average 3 to 5.
Yeah.
and they're banking on people not taking advantage.
Well, yeah, it's the whole gym, fitness
Mm-hmm.
club kind of thing where it's like we're gonna get you to sign up, and hopefully you won't show up. But the thing about it is, people don't like going to the gym because they don't like going to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to give someone a free opportunity to experience something they want to experience, I wonder if AMC is going to dig themselves into the same hole that MoviePass
I don't
did.
think so because for them, right? So here's where MoviePass loses their advantage and AMC gains it. Is AMC has to turn the lights on anyway, right?
Yeah.
So whether they sell tickets to a movie or not, they're operating. So they're not losing as much money per ticket.
That's true, yeah. But they still have to technically pay for the ticket that goes
yes,
to...
they have to. So let's say they're charging you $20 for an IMAX ticket, right? They still have to 90% of that ticket still has to go to the studio. I don't know if it's 90. I'm just saying. I know it starts out. I know week 1 it's like 90. It's like some high percentage. Week 2 it goes down. Week 3 it goes down. Eventually it bottoms out to like whatever the percentages goes at the studio. So that still has to go to the studio.
I wonder if they just cook their books and the studio has no idea what they actually... Because with a process like this, I'm sure there's a way to shave off numbers and things like that.
Maybe.
I'm not saying you should AMC. I'm just saying,
But
call Marty Bird.
I mean, there's a record of the ticket being sold to that movie in my AMC app, so I don't know if they shave anything. But I also buy before MoviePass and before very specifically AMC A-List. I never bought concessions, right? But now I do. Now I buy concessions way more frequently. I don't sneak food in as often.
Yeah, because now you're feeling like you owe them.
No, not necessarily. I'm just. I don't have to spend $20 on a movie for me to go to the movies by myself is free now. $20 a month. It's not free, but $20 a month. So now, like if I'm I'm more than willing to drop $10 on pretzel nuggets and a drink.
Yeah,
I don't really get. I guess I can get diet soda there, so maybe I'll get a diet soda. So I'm way more willing. I don't do it every single time, but they're making more money off of me on concessions now than they did when I saw 5 movies a month.
And that makes sense because they make more money on their concessions.
Yeah. So for me, like that's a highlight of 2018, and I don't know. I would say I want to highlight. I think my favorite movie of 2018. I think it's. I'm almost positive. I still have to finalize my list. I'm almost positive it's going to end up being my number 1 movie of 2018, Spider-Verse. That movie,
Spider-Verse was really good. There's only like 3 movies that I would put anywhere up there as far as like entertainment
Name
value.
them.
So mine would be Infinity War, Spider-Verse, and then actually we're going way back to like January or February, Game Night.
Yes, dude. That's I don't know if it's top. I think that's in my top 5.
Yeah.
Game Night was such a good movie,
and it kind of like went under the radar too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they were talking about they had ideas for a sequel and everything, but I don't know if it did well enough to get it. I really hope it did because I'd love to see those characters again.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't one bad spot in that movie.
That was such a good movie. It is very high on my top 10 list. I like movies like Tag. There's Tag and some other movie that I watched this year that I didn't put on my top 10 list because they were too close to Game Night. And as much as I enjoyed Tag
was good.
Game Night just I think did it a little bit better, and was honestly just the first to do it, and I think did it better. Let's see. Oh no, it's in my top 10 list is in my book at work. I was going to try to look at it. For me, the reason I put Spider-Verse ahead of Infinity War is because I had issues with Infinity War. And honestly, I don't know if Infinity War might not even be in my top 5, to be honest.
It's a slow movie for sure.
But
there's
it's
a lot that
certainly
happens in it, but it's not necessarily. I feel about Infinity War similarly to how I feel about like Winter Soldier. Like Winter Soldier wouldn't be what I would consider my most entertaining movie within like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think it's the best.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Winter Soldier is the best made, certainly not the most entertaining. I think that to me, whereas I think Infinity War had so many pieces to it that you have to give it props for that. The story, there's a lot to enjoy about Infinity War. We did a whole panel about Infinity War.
I have a feeling we're going to do a whole panel about
Endgame. Yeah.
Endgame, yeah.
But to me, I think Spider-Verse is just the better superhero movie.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
And I also think it's super entertaining.
Best animated film of the year for sure.
But yes, and I thought Incredibles. Okay, so Incredibles 2 was in my top 3. It was in my top, if not number 1. Incredibles 2 was. I thought it was
For animated or overall.
Overall. I don't break it down I just do overall.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Incredibles 2. I thought it was almost as good as the original, if not better, but almost as good, if not as good. I think Spider-Verse is a better film than that. I think it tells a better story. I think it takes a story that we know really well in the Spider-Man story, and I'm talking Peter Parker, and it plays on that. It makes fun of that, and it just does a good job handling it. And then it introduces us to this new Spider-Man that is not Peter Parker, and it does it in a fun way. It does it in a unique way, and just the animation style, like what they did to make this movie, is incredible.
Well, you heard that the first like they did 10 frames, and the 10 frames that they tested with took them a year, just to make sure that they were getting it right.
Yeah, it is a movie that it just hit me in every way that it needed to hit me to make it my favorite movie of the year. Spoiler alert. I still have to sit down and really think about it because it is so fresh in my mind, because I did see it on the 14th, I think. But so I don't want to be unfair because it's the movie that I saw most recently, but yeah. I do honestly think that it is, to me, not only the best movie of 2018, but I think the best superhero movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, Sony's been on a ball as far as their films this year.
And I do give honorable mention to Venom, not because it's a good movie, but because that movie it's a movie that should not work, should not have been made the way it was made. But it's so much, it's so fun. It is such a fun movie that I wanted to see. I will buy that movie eventually. I will watch that movie multiple times. It will be a movie that I always like and always enjoy. It is a fun superhero movie or anti-hero movie. Mm-hmm. It's just it's not good.
That's funny.
It's not great, and it's a movie that shouldn't work, and it does. It works it's a movie straight out of the Sam Raimi years of superhero films. It works on that level.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what they do and how they bring that character into the MCU, or how they bring Tom Holland's Spider-Man into this movie,
the Venomverse or whatever.
It's a movie that shouldn't work that did. It's not on my list. It's an honorable mention because it's just batshit crazy movie. It literally has a scene of a human male making out with his alter ego.
I saw that happened. I didn't actually see the movie.
Oh, you didn't see the movie?
I did not.
Oh my god, it's a movie you should see.
I'm always planning on seeing it, but I'm not rushing out to see it or anything like that.
It's in a world where A-list exists, it's a movie you absolutely see.
I'm not on A-list.
It's a movie. Someone who sees 20 movies a year, I'm surprised you're not. It's something that I think you should. I don't know when the cutoff date is. It might be today. Before you if you subscribe by a certain date.
Let me do the math before you push an A-list on me, all right? I don't know if I'm actually doing 20 movies a year.
I can't believe that there's not that many movies. You don't see more than 2 movies a month. I guess you don't.
I could comb through here and see which movies we did. We could math it out, but we shouldn't do it on air.
No. As a person who enjoys movies as much as I do, if not more.
I think lately you've been enjoying movies more than me, Mr. Critic.
Damn right. It's such a good investment. It just shocks me. That's enough of A-list and movies, though. What would you say is your favorite movie of the year?
Well, I think we just agreed.
War?
Yeah. No.
Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No. It's just so good. Moving away from entertainment value, I do want to talk personal things as well. I think some of the coolest things that happened in 2018 was doing the panels.
Yeah, because that was opening the book to a completely new chapter in what kind of cool stuff we can do.
Yeah, the fact that it could actually happen was amazing, and being able to do. I went to more cons than I've ever gone to in any. Last year, I just went to Wizard World. In 2017, I went to Wizard World and PAX Unplugged.
Yeah.
Only 2 cons I went to. And Wizard World. No, did I go to Wizard World last year? No, I don't think I did.
No, I don't remember you going to, because I think you were pissed off because you didn't get asked to be on the panel,
or
something like that.
I don't know. I don't think I applied last year. I think I missed the boat, or I
Yeah.
thought I missed the boat.
And because I don't remember you coming to the table or anything.
No,
'cause
2018
I've been
did.
tabling since 2017.
2017 was your first year tabling,
Yes.
right? Okay, so yeah, I didn't go in 2017.
Yep.
I wanted to, but and you had the you had like your helper pass that you could have given me, but I said I'm only going to be able to go one day. It's not worth it.
Now next year we're gonna have 2 tables, so we're gonna have like 8 people.
Yeah.
Like next year's gonna be crazy.
So, but 2018 was the year that I went to. Let's see, I think 4 cons. We went to the Great Philadelphia Comic Con.
I already got my table for next year.
At Great Philadelphia.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you're going to do the table at
both, yeah,
at both?
at Greater Philadelphia and at Wizard World.
Cool. Yeah, they haven't opened up panel submissions yet, but my goal for 2019 is to do the cons that we did. Hopefully, get on to. So we did 2 cons this year. I want to do Keystone as well, and I want to do PAX if I have something to do at PAX.
And try and do a panel at each one.
I want to try to do a panel at each one. At the very least, do media at each one. I foresee us doing a panel at least of the 2 that we already did.
Yeah,
we've got a proven.
We
track
made a
record.
name at those, and we had turnout.
Very specifically at Wizard World, we had to say the only turnout that I saw. Now I say this as someone who didn't do the panel at PAX Unplugged, but Jeff's panel at PAX Unplugged, line out the door.
Very cool.
Every seat was filled. It was.
And what was the subject of his panel?
A table set for 2.
That's right.
2-player role playing, of course. So he was an expertise at that. But so yeah, I went to Great Philadelphia Comic Con, did a panel there. We went there for 1 day. I think that's a 2-day con.
I think it's 3. I think it's Friday, Saturday.
Oh, is it a 3-day?
I think so.
You're right. It is.
Or at least it is this year.
I think it was last year too. I want to do at least 1 panel there, if not 2 again this year. I think we have ideas for 3. I think you and I like came up with 3 panel ideas so that we can.
And there's plenty of time to come up with more if we need to.
But I do want to do Philadelphia. What we did Philadelphia Comic Con, we did Wizard World. We ran panels at both of those. They were highlights for me, big time. And then Keystone, I did media. This was the first year that Keystone was a Comic Con, which you didn't. Did you go to?
I didn't go to Keystone, but I did go to Too Many Games. And I helped. I actually liked it. I mean, I didn't have a video game to present, and even the first video game that I'm working on, I don't think would be considered like Too Many Games level. Like it's not. It's a very casual game. I wouldn't expect to bring a game like that there. But if I was going to do like a video game, I would want to bring it there because people seem to really enjoy the experience there.
Yeah. Keystone, I did media at, and Keystone. What I really enjoyed for Keystone, and which is weird because it was the same company that put on PAX. Reed Pop bought PAX Penny Arcade, so that's why they started running the PAX conventions. And
which one's Reed Pop? That's Wizard World or
no? That's New York Comic Con.
Oh, okay.
Emerald Comic Con, and then Keystone. PAX Unplugged was their first Philadelphia con, Reed Pop, and it was their first con that was not pop culture based. It was game based.
Reed Pop, I think, does Anime Next as well.
They might.
And for 2 years now, I've skipped Anime Next, even though I had tickets.
The Reed Pop did such a shit show last year with PAX Unplugged. It was terrible.
Yeah, definitely. And people were complaining about it and everything. But to be fair, people were complaining about Wizard World last year too. That was the first year, like I said, that I tabled, and people were furious
in 2017.
Because of how things were laid out, how loud things were, because you weren't there for that. It was atrocious.
And which is weird because Wizard World was always a good con for me before that.
But I think they changed hands and there was new ownership.
Yes,
Philly is the biggest of the cons, with the exception of, I don't think they even have anything to do with, like, they're not San Diego Comic Con.
No.
But Philly is the biggest show that Wizard World does.
That Wizard World does. New York Comic Con, New York, which is what Reed Pop does, I think is even, as far as attendance records, I think bigger than San Diego now.
Yeah. I would like to go to that con just to see what it looks like, because you got to figure it's in a New York Convention Center. It's got to be humongous.
Yeah.
I think, so Rhiannon and I spoke, and we told each other that we were going to expand to start selling at a second show, and that's why we're doing the Greater Philadelphia. You figure it's within an hour away. You don't have to worry about like getting a hotel or anything. I don't know if we would do the same thing if like we were going to New York, because that's a hike.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, and it costs money. The travel is, you need to get a hotel. I think that it would make sense to get a hotel
Yeah, I mean,
going to New York.
it would be a different situation maybe if I had an SUV or something like that. I mean, you figure this year I'll have 18 books that I can sell. I don't have enough space in my car. Like we ended up picking Matt up from the airport last year with a car full of stuff, and we picked him up in 2 separate cars. He followed us back from the airport to the convention center, helped us load up, and then he took the car back to our house so he could shower and sleep and everything like that, and then get back in time to show people how the game worked and everything.
That's funny.
So yeah, there's no world where we could go to New York and do all the stuff that we do at Philly in one car and make it work.
And for me, it's always I feel that like I feel that the Comic Cons, like Wizard World and stuff like that, that's such a weird market, I think, for an author, because it's not necessarily what people are looking for. I actually think, like, and maybe very specifically your Quantum Quest stuff, I think you would do really well at PAX Unplugged.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, because you figure if things go the way that we're kind of pushing them to go, in 2019, we should have the second one ready to sell. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at that point, we were talking about doing a booth, because I think what was I telling you? The booth was like $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it's not. I guess it's not crazy expensive, but it sounds crazy expensive.
Yeah, I mean, because you figure the table at Wizard World is $350. So like, all right, you don't sell a lot, you're not losing out that much. But if like you go to PAX and if they're all gonna laugh at you, like it feels really bad to lose $1,000.
Yeah,
and not only that, but I'm making my games. I'm publishing them through the Game Crafter, so I'm not making the kind of money that someone who goes through China is making off their game. So it's an even bigger risk for someone like me.
But you are like people are going to PAX Unplugged very specifically to try new things, and buy new things. So I think that's what's like a big advantage to you doing Quantum Quest. But that's neither here nor there. But so 2018, so Keystone was a great first year for them. Much better than their first year with PAX Unplugged. And that was a highlight, not because I got a media pass for them, but because I got to sit down and interview Mega Ran, which was someone that has been on my Git list for a while, just because I knew he's from the Philadelphia area. He does the intro song for the Party of One podcast that Jeff hosts. And because he's a Philly guy, I wanted to get him on the show, and I would still like to get him down for a long form interview and whatnot. But I was very happy to get the 10-15 minutes that he gave, and we went a little longer than I was anticipating, like 10 minutes, and I think we went almost 20. And then also this was like out of nowhere, the Sandy King Carpenter interview, John Carpenter's wife. That was such a fun interview that I was not expecting to do. That fell into my lap, and I the biggest complaint about Keystone that I had and shared with Sandy at least was that they had the wrestling ring and the live band area like right there in the same room as everything else going on, and Sandy King was right there,
So she had to yell to
so
get.
like we had to. There was no way you could do an interview there.
And I had talked to you, and that was the same problem that they had at Wizard World in 2017. It was too loud. That was people had to yell to their customers, and that's. It's one thing to be like, hey, I'm talking to fans and everything like that, but like if you're like a nobody like me and you're trying to sell something and they don't understand what you're saying because they can't hear you, that is like a huge detriment. And it was like no amount of bagels and orange juice in the morning is going to make up for that. So
right, and so and they also, to wrap up that con, which I'm shocked that they didn't do that PAX Unplugged this year, but they had 2 rooms reserved for attendees, and then another one I think reserved for exhibitors and media and stuff, to wrap up and say, what did you like, what did you hate? And I didn't say anything. I went there just to experience what that was like, and I liked that over the survey that they sent for PAX the first year. PAX 2017, I said nasty things. I was like, this was awful. Like, I was very unhappy I was a paying customer at 2017's PAX Unplugged. Yeah. For PAX Unplugged 2018, I was media again, and a highlight simply because it was another con that I got to do. And I got to do his media, and they reversed everything. It was a complete 180. They listened to people, and and not very. I mean, maybe very specifically me, probably not, but just everyone.
Well, I'm sure
a
lot of people had complaints because it was the same thing, like I said, at Wizard World. And logistically, that convention center has just got to be very difficult to do right and do right from a financial standpoint because you can open up so much of the suite space, but you have to pay for that space. So, like, are you going to take the risk and open it up further?
And I personally, PAX 2018, like, I didn't really have much to complain about. I don't know. I didn't submit anything, so I can't even complain about that. I would still say that maybe, and this might just be not knowing who the local gaming people are in Philadelphia, but I know Jeff did a panel there. I don't know if anyone else submitted panel ideas that I know. It still seemed like it was light on Philly-centric people as far as panelists go. They had a whole local Philly thing going on Sunday. They had in the dev room or the learn to play area. They had a lot of local Philly showcase there, which was great. That answered some, I think, issues that people had when it came to that. But I would like to see more Philly entertainers on stage.
Well, I mean, you're a big push, of that kind of stuff. Whether it's podcasting or game stuff, you want to make sure. I mean, you're like the Philly guy. You're very
Philadelphia, and James D'Amato will argue that it's Chicago, but Philadelphia, I think, is the podcasting capital of at least the states. There is a strong independent market in Chicago, and probably better known.
Now you're saying podcasting or gaming?
Podcasting.
Okay.
Also gaming. They're pretty big in gaming. I can't. But I
would say that Chicago is huge for gaming.
I can't comment on who's bigger because I don't know the.
You just haven't measured up yet.
I'm maybe in 2019 hopefully going to do some work in the gaming world, whether it's actual play or podcasting or even design. I'm hoping to do. There are some of my goals in 2019, but in 2018, it's as far as my I feel like that there's maybe bigger known podcasts in Chicago, but I don't think there's a larger independent scene when it comes to podcasting than Philadelphia. And I think the proof is in the podcast festivals that each city runs. Chicago has a very nice podcast festival that features known players, but Philadelphia Podcast Festival in the summer, it doesn't get bigger than over 4 days of podcasting with over 60 shows that happened last year. And the festival that is going to be coming up in a few weeks here, January 27th, plug, is the Everything is Awesome Headstrong Comedy Festival that is strongly podcast influenced. First year we've expanded beyond one venue, and we got
not even just we're going to be at 2.
We have 23 podcasts coming to our festival. We have over 20 comedians and improv comedians coming to the festival. We needed 4 locations. Tattooed Mom, our headquarters, love that place. We're going to have Milk Boy on South Street. We're going to have South Street Cinema, obviously on South Street, and we're going to venture a little bit further to 17th and Fairmont for Thirsty Dice for our actual play content. So 4 great venues that are all donating their space. There's one that's not, but still giving us a really great deal on that space, and are all about the independent arts of Philadelphia and all about the community. And if my Dopey Festival can get 23 shows in, then and a lot of them are shows that I recognize now. And some of them are still first year podcasts, but there's a lot of return shows as far as doing.
You were a first year podcast once upon a time.
I was, yeah, and I'm happy to bring the first year podcast on.
I like how you were like, you know what, I was
all those years ago. Anyway, but that. I don't know. We got on a tangent there, but yeah,
tangent.
The 2018 festival circuit was a highlight for me. Obviously, what was your big highlight for 2018 on a personal level, or not personal, because I would say personal, hobby level, or
from a creator's kind of
creators.
Well, I mean, so this was the year where we made Quantum Quest a thing. I mean, we were playing it in 2017, but it's actually, you can buy it now. it's
what the Kickstarter was 2017 or 2018.
So the first Kickstarter, when we tried to do like the $15,000 goal and get it printed in China, that was late 2017.
But 2018 was the
successful Kickstarter.
Okay.
So I think probably what we're going to end up doing is we still have to do a lot of testing for the expansion, but 2019 should be another. We're going to publish the expansion. And then if things go well, I mean, not a lot of people know about this yet, but we're working on like a video game tie-in. It's always cool like trying out something new. So it'll be cool to see, number one, if we can make it happen. Number two, if we can work with somebody who is familiar and comfortable in that industry and kind of use them as like a guy to go to when the next game is time to roll around. Because, I mean, it's the thing that you and I both know and do very well. Once we find something that we like doing, we never stop doing it.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to maybe 20 years from now say I have 5 video games made or something like that.
Yeah. It's I would say creatively 2018 I stumbled a bit with the podcasting stuff, especially the end of the year, but some pretty big things happened, which I'm sure I've talked about in pre-intros or in post, whatever you say. The intros that I record after the show, post intros, I'm sure I've talked about because I haven't recorded them yet, so I'm going to. Where obviously the anniversary of my uncle's passing is huge for me. My father being diagnosed with some heavy cancer took a big toll on me creatively at the end of the year, and I know that, and my goal was to not let it happen this year, but there was extra stuff this year. So we'll see what 2019 brings. But
at the end of the day, you also have a full-time job, so it's very difficult. I don't think anyone could fault us for being like, oh, you're not doing like things as creatively as you should. But like, it's not like a day ever goes by where you're not doing something for your podcast. Like, there's a lot of people who are just creatively drained when stuff like that happens, and then they're gone for months. Yeah. They're completely wiped out and stuff.
I mean, I pretty much stepped away for two months. From October 17th was the last time we posted something.
But I mean, you've been working at stuff for
the festival.
And
yes, you're right. You
need an assistant, is what you need.
It needs to start paying money. Or at least breaking even. But anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to think like personally, like, I can't say anything like new really happened personally for me as far as like what I'm really happy about. Just the continued like growth of like seeing my family like do what they do and like especially the kids. Yeah,
I mean your nuclear family has been going really well for a long time now.
Yeah.
So
and just and like to see like Jen have like just like a like successful year with what she does professionally and not really like want to not teach anymore.
And that does happen a lot. So it's good that even in like the kind of situation she's in where like where she is kind of a struggle and everything, that she's still happy doing what she's doing.
It was even this year, like the second half of 2018 is obviously one different school year than with the school year she's in for the school year here, and both sets of kids, just really good kids and whatnot, it's just that, and just like, man, seeing Trey, like both kids, both Trey and Aubrey, just like being full little humans, but like Trey can read, like that blows my mind. Still, I've been able to read for months now.
Yeah, seeing him at the convention was like, that was a strange feeling. It was like, cool. Dude is like,
I'll tell you what, that as a personal moment, that's probably my biggest personal highlight of 2018 is. And next year we plan on going as a family on Sunday because Aubrey kind of wants to go and Jen doesn't want to go, but she'll go for Trey.
It's easier to wrangle two kids with two parents.
But like going to PAX Unplugged with Trey was such a highlight for me. Mm-hmm. And seeing the game he fell in love with was this stupid little card game called Spot It that he got for Christmas. And we played it last night and he loves it. And just like seeing him like see board games in a new light, I guess.
Yep.
And it was just that was a big personal highlight for me. Personal highlight for you, 2018.
Well, we got Maisie. That was nice.
Yes.
We got a new dog. We have a third fuzzy baby now, so that was nice. She's a little menace right now. She is out of her cage because I came in probably at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to say at 10:05 she managed to pull her way out of the cage because that's what she does. And we act like we don't know it. How'd you get out of your cage? Like we're talking to like a kid who
How do you know she
better.
how do you know she got out?
Oh, I just know it. I could feel it in my bones, Kev. Every time we put her in that cage, she freaks out like, I'm stuck here forever. And then she finds her way out. We find her on the couch. It makes there's less of a mess if she's in the cage and gets out than if we like clip it shut so that she can't get out. Like she will pee and poop and everything all over that cage and make her life miserable. So we make it like it's our idea that she gets out of the cage.
Nice. Real briefly, now that we're in 2019, at least when this airs, we'll be in 2019. What are some of your 2019 goals?
So I'd like to finish up the Tellest books that I have that need to be done. I still have. So Heart of the Forest is going to be coming out February 1st. Stealing Saramore should come out in May. The Quantum Quest novelization should be coming out shortly after that. And then the only 2 books that I still have to actually write are a couple of short stories to finish up the Tellest Legends collection, and then the Maelstrom, which is like bare bones. Like that one's going to take me a long time because that's like deep history Tellest stuff. The Quantum Quest expansion should come out. The Quantum Quest video game, I'm hoping to put some kind of stride on. And then if things work out, then maybe we're making a little bit more money and there's a little bit more money to throw into Tellest and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm personally I'm trying, my goal, we're talking about what to do for the wedding. Like we have a date and stuff in mind, but with
is it 2019 that the wedding is going to be, or further out?
2020, but there's obviously factors that might make us do something else. But we're going to be getting serious about talking about like what we need to do and play, like getting officially things booked and planned and whatnot, and having a contingency plan on some certain aspects.
And
of
it's
that.
Awesome considering you guys were the guys who were like, no, never get married. No.
Well, it's funny. I said that after the first failed marriage I had.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both had different reasons for it.
But I very specifically, like, there was a moment very early on that I knew I wanted to, and it was before we knew we were pregnant, and I think before we even got pregnant. So and we were only together for a few months when we got pregnant with Trey. But before that happened, like I knew that I wanted to marry Jen. I knew I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life. She very blatantly says that if it wasn't for the kids, she would not be with me. I like to pretend that's a joke, but we don't know. But like and 2018 for the most part has been a very good year for us. Like just on a relationship level, I feel, at least, and I'm hoping to carry that through to 2019 and whatnot. But
success breeds success, Kev.
Yes,
you're a full-time panelist now.
Yes, and so but 2019 we're going to be getting that up and hopefully kind of having at least things nailed down for what we need to do. Creatively, there's a lot of goals. I need to restructure like a lot of things with That's Entertainment. I want to get things LLC'd, but that I just need money to.
Yeah, that's not exact. That's not a cheap. Yeah.
But I want to get things LLC'd and trademarked and stuff so that we can be a little bit more professional and try to make money, because I just don't want to make money on my name, because I want it to be able to be funneled through an actual.
You want it to be professional.
Yeah. But more, that's more business like than it is creative. Creatively, there's a lot I want to do. My goal for 2019 with the podcast is to like not fall into the slump that I fall into. So once we should be officially caught up probably by right after Trey's birthday, like the third week of January, as we're entering the festival time. We should be caught up with things, and I want to stay caught up and not get into the trap of where and God willing, and I'm not a God person, but God willing, there's nothing else that's going to get thrown at us family wise that could. I mean, I know that there's a big chance that something could, and I'm trying to go into 2019 knowing that and not letting that stop me. Also, kind of on a personal / creative level, there's something that I promised I would do when my uncle passed away, and that was like sit down and record with family and sit down and record, because like you can always have video, you can always have pictures and whatnot, but you never have something that you can have on the go with you. Like to hear that loved one's voice. And like what sucks is like I forget my uncle's voice. Like I kind of have it in the back of my head.
But you have some old shows with him.
I do. So I'm lucky that I can go back and listen to that. But like for the most part, like I that's stuff that I'm not going to show Colin at all until he's much older.
Yeah.
But I want to sit down, and I want to sit down with people that knew my uncle, and I want to sit down with just my family now, knowing the things that go on with my father and stuff. And I want to sit down and record it and just learn about family, learn about our history, and have all that stuff recorded so that when people aren't around anymore, the descendants, the grandchildren can sit down and listen to all that.
I got a couple of voicemails from my grandmother who passed away like 5 years ago. So like,
and one of the things that sucks is I don't know how it happened, but when I went to this phone, I lost voicemails from my uncle, which sucks. But like I said, I do have the recordings. I want to do that. I want to do
someday you're going to be dead, and it's not going to matter.
No, not at all. But I want to get more into the game. Role playing world as well, so that's a big like 2019 push.
Playing and creating.
I want to play, yes, and I want to create, and I want to play like I want to do more board gaming. I would like to get back to, even if it's not D&D. I want to get.
We were talking about trying to do something like once every other month.
Yes, I would love to do something at minimum at like 6 times a year. Yeah. I would love to try to find a way to do it monthly at some point. Because I think it's important to set aside that time to just do it. I also want to do it in a somewhat creative manner too, for creative professional, I should say, where I want to do actual plays. I want to design an RPG this year. So there's some lofty goals. I want to finally get that first goddamn novel written that I've been promising for over a decade. I would love to do a screenplay, but with my other goals in mind, I can realistically say that's probably not an option for 2019, and maybe make it a 2020 thing. But a lot of personal and creative professional goals going on for me in 2019. Hopefully I get one of them done. One thing I can actually say for 2018 that I said I wanted to do was get healthier. And that's something that
you did a monumental job. And I'm actually heavier than I was than at the beginning of 2018 because we got Maisie and all the exercise, all the food stuff that went right out the freaking window.
2018, I started at 260, and as of now, I've since Thanksgiving, I've gone up a few pounds, but I'm okay with gaining a couple pounds.
I think everybody does from October 31st to around this time of the year.
For me, it's been since just the week before Thanksgiving to now. I've gone up and down, and really just kind of had 2 weeks of weight gain just this last 2 weeks here. It's been fluctuating every other week.
You're putting on winter weight. It's all right.
But it's fine because I know I'm now in the new year. I'm gonna get at it again. But I ended the year at 208, so I lost
52
as per because I started at 250 on Weight Watchers. So as per Weight Watchers, around 42. But yes, there was an extra 10 pounds at the start of the year that was not part of the Weight Watchers loss. I lost 10 pounds doing my normal sugar
cut
purge,
everything,
and whatnot. So, but yeah, so I lost 52 pounds in 2018, which is nuts.
That's a small child.
That is a small child. That's probably how much Trey weighs, or maybe he's 57. It's almost what Trey weighs. Anyway, where can people find you?
Well, hold on. There's one more thing that I want to talk about. We talked about movies. We talked about conventions. But we didn't talk about TV, unless you want to talk about Bandersnatch. Have you seen Haunting of Hill House?
I have not.
You have got to see that. I mean, and I saw it recently, so you're going through like the same thing as like the Spider-Man thing with you. Yeah. So like it's very recent in my mind, but that was the best TV show that I've seen.
I've heard a lot of
probably in like 2 or 3 years.
I can't even tell you what my favorite TV show of 2018 has been because I honestly have only been watching the Arrowverse stuff.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who, which I'm even behind on. And I'll tell you, I think the thing that I think surprised me the most was The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
The Walking Dead was kind of on a decline, and it's been that and Arrow are like the two shows that were in the last few years.
And they kind of pepped up.
They pepped up. I mean, Arrow pepped up last year too. I really liked their as an event. I thought the Elseworlds event was really good. That's I guess my favorite.
And they're
thing.
always good for that kind of stuff. Like they're a very robust crossover series and everything like that.
The Flash and Supergirl continue to be my favorite thing. Actually, you know what? Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that kind of picked up too.
That show is just so bananas crazy that I love it. I think the storytelling is better on The Flash and Supergirl, but if you're talking about you can recognize something as being really good and then there's something that's just really fun. Like Legends of Tomorrow is the DC TV Guardian.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to watch that show.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll have to do because I should be back at work now. So we'll have to do another maybe episode on. Well, we need to find time to do a. Maybe we have to spend next year. We'll have to spend December doing like best of TV, best of movies.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
Life.
We'll do awards.
Yeah.
They won't get them.
No, they won't get them. All right. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Tellest, Tellest. You can find me on Facebook at Tellest Books. And then, of course, on the website, www.tellest.com.
You can find me on Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. That's where I do most of my tweeting and twatting. You can find the show on Twitter at RealAwesomePod or at RealAwesomePod on Facebook.com, though I would say best place to get me is on Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. You can email us at awesome at crudeHumorstudios.com. You can find us on awesomepodcast.com. Please go to festival.awesomepodcast.com to get more details on the festival that we're putting together to raise money for Headstrong. Headstrong is a local Pennsylvania, Delaware County organization that helps families that are afflicted by cancer. They go to the University of Pennsylvania and help families there. They help families with their Headstrong house to put people up if they need to. They do really, really great things. Our goal is to raise $500. At the time of this recording, we're 10% of the way there. By the end of January, I would like to say that we at least hit that 500. And you can go to you can go to bit.ly/HeadstrongFest, bit.ly/HeadstrongFest to donate directly to the fundraiser webpage. If you're going to be out at the festival, you can donate online. We're going to have ways that you can donate with cash if that's what you prefer to do at the festival. And I can't wait to be part of that festival. And this is the biggest thing I've ever put together. So I'm going crazy. But so the biggest thing you can do for me is go to festival.awesomepodcast.com and bit.ly/HeadstrongFest and donate some of your hard-earned cash to Headstrong. They deserve your money more than anybody else. For Everything is Awesome, I'm Kev.
I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time right here on awesomepodcast.com. Once again, I don't actually know if I need to record an outro for this episode, but I'm going to because it's been months removed from that episode. I'm a different Kev, completely different. That was 2018 Kev. 2018 Kev was stressed, man. 2018 Kev, at the time of that recording, was like fucking going crazy because his father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. 2018 Kev was going crazy because he had to put together a festival, a 1-day 4-venue festival with like 3 or 4 times the amount of it was an insane amount of podcasts and comedians and something that I've never done to that scale, really, at least on my own. I've never done something that big on my own before. So that was like a completely different Kev. Who was looking for the positive, and 2019 Kev's here. He found the positive, baby, and it's cool listening back to that episode and hearing what the past versions of ourselves thought. And as far as the pop culture stuff is, like, I gotta stand by a lot of that, a lot of what we said, like especially like Spider-Man of the Spider-Verse animated film. Is still, so many months removed, is still, I think, the best movie of 2018. Won the best animated flick Oscar, rightfully so. I think even should have been a contender for best picture overall. I think, and I didn't see a lot of those movies. I tend to not see best picture movies, not on purpose. It's just how kind of the differences between what the Academy thinks and what I think. And whatnot. But Into the Spider-Verse was a Best Picture quality film, and at least it won Best Animated Feature. I think it could have gone home with something bigger, in my opinion. But anyway, thank you all for listening. I kept you pretty long in the intro, and I don't want to keep you much longer here on the outro. Keep on, keep up with the resistance. 5calls.org. Use that site and service. Make 5 Calls as their app to let your representatives know how you feel, and let your voice be heard. Make a difference. Be positive. Thank you for spending the last, I think this one's probably about an hour or so, with me and Mike and on Everything is Awesome here. And if you're supporting this show, no matter what that means to you, sharing a tweet, word of mouth, recommendations, and 5-star iTunes rating and review, or if you're like Mike DeAngelo, actually, and Priest Pulse, supporting us on patreon.com/thatnerdykev. Thank you so much for supporting us. It means the world on every level, especially if you're throwing us cash, because I know what that means. There's also, like, if you don't want to do a subscription-based thing, we also have, and by we, I mean I also have a Ko-fi, kofi.com/thatnerdykev, where, or maybe it's pronounced coffee, ko-fi.com/thatnerdykev, where you can buy me a coffee for $3, and that money, probably won't actually go towards coffee. It'll probably go towards, hosting costs and hopefully, forming an LLC for Crude Humor Studios, so that we can really start like running this thing professionally and being able to pay people in a way that doesn't feel shady. It doesn't really affect me out of pocket that much. So that's my 2019 goal, is to hopefully legitimize the business a little bit, even if we're not making money in a real sense. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Right here, Everything is Awesome, part of the That's Entertainment Podcast Network on thatentertains.com/network, and of course on awesomepodcast.com. We like to end Everything is Awesome with a call to action. Super friends, there are a lot of terrible things happening right now. It can feel like you can't do anything to help, but you can. It takes people like us to make a difference. One of the easiest and most effective ways to action is to call your representatives about issues that are important to you. When I call my reps, I use a site called 5calls.org. That's the number 5calls.org. There, you'll find issue summaries for issues that are important to you, contact information for your representatives, and a script to read while you're on the phone to make sure your message gets across. Calling is quick, easy, and is one of the most effective ways to have your voice heard. Thank you to all of our supporters on patreon.com/thatentertains. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring this episode to you. If you want to support us in a non-monetary way, word-of-mouth recommendations and 5-star rating reviews on iTunes are the best way to spread the good word of awesome. You can find us on Facebook.com and Twitter @RealAwesomePod or @AwesomePodcast on Instagram. And we're available on awesomepodcast.com and thatentertains.com/network. Get news about Everything is Awesome from our website, social media accounts, and also on my personal Twitter @thatnerdykev. If you're interested in ad rates, live appearances, help with your podcast, or have a question or comment, email us at awesome@crudehumorstudios.com. Everything is Awesome is a production of That's Entertainment Podcast Network in association with Crude Humor Studios. Crude Humor Studios is a Philadelphia-based production company specializing in audio, video, and live performances. You can find more info at crudehumorstudios.com. Thanks for listening, super friends. We've been awesome.
That's Entertainment Podcast Network. Entertainment and culture. Artist-owned, fan-supported.